We're in trouble now. Trump has unleashed upon this world what civilizations have been trying to keep under control. He has shown millions, if not billions, how to have absolute confidence in their authority without any thinking, caring, curiosity, or trying. Absolute rank-pulling authority, absolutely unearned. It's like pretending you've discovered your own private genie in a bottle, and from now on your every wish deserves to be granted. That's a hard genie to get back in the bottle. If it continues to spread, civilization could well be doomed. I'm a psychoproctologist. I study the diagnosis, prevention, and treatment of the kind of asshole absolutism we're seeing in the Trumpists. On prevention and treatment, I try to figure out what any of us can do as our part to contain or control it without pulling rank ourselves. For decades, my big question has been how to humbly humiliate humans who will say anything to avoid human humility. I saw this coming, or at least worried it would, and now we're stuck dealing with it. Trumpism is just the kind of absolutist high horse indulgence in unearned authority I've been trying to figure out how to control before it's uncontrollable. Humiliate humans? You might wince at that. Isn't humiliating people mean, unkind, not nice, and counterproductive? Shouldn't the goal be greater harmony, unity, and equality? Isn't it arrogant to accuse someone of arrogance, like you're trying to pull them down off their high horse so you can mount it instead? Besides, and more practically, won't they kick my ass if I try to humiliate them? Or maybe at the rate things are going, toss me into the gulag? Isn't it wiser to keep my head down? Safety is important, and still, if the U.S. is becoming MAGA-stan, resistance to authoritarianism is the honorable path we always assumed we'd take. Not violence, but some kind of verbal challenge or psychological warfare. It's terrifying and heartbreaking that we have to deal with this shit, but here we are. I encourage you to take some risks in hassling Trumpists. The question here is how to take them as safely, honorably, and effectively as we can. In this video, I'll share my main technique for staying calm and grounded when hassling Trumpists to the degree you're willing to risk. Confronting them, you can't just wing it. Maybe you've tried that and been thrown off balance. If winging is your only option, you probably won't risk it. Besides, what I'm recommending here applies beyond Trumpism. This is not about their politics. The genie serves anyone who indulges in it for whatever cause. Leftists pull absolutist rank like that too. Anyone might be tempted to for whatever cause, or no cause other than just cause I said so. I'm talking about how to stand your ground confidently with any kind of bully. To stay grounded while hassling them, you'll need to cultivate what I call repercussioning. Cushioning yourself against the repercussions. They'll surely hassle and try to humiliate you back. You have to be prepared to withstand their blowback. Like all assholes and bullies, Trumpists are sado-narcissistic, robotic, rationalizing moralizers. Sado-narcissism is kind of redundant. Putting others down is very effective for self-elevation. Getting on one's high horse is largely about putting others down. Trump is a master of the robotic put-down. Trumpism is as simple as never apologize, never admit you're wrong about anything, never act like your confidence has been shaken in the least. Just keep generating artificial invincibility like you're some insult-spitting AI bot. Like an AI bot, a Trumpist doesn't think, care, or try to understand. It's Herobots. Robotically posing as the hero, which means anyone who challenges them is automatically a dumb, weak villain. Trumpists can always rationalize why they're right and you're wrong. They can always moralize why they're good and you're bad. So yes, if you challenge them in any way, there will be repercussions. You're in for some insults to your mind and heart. And if you think about morality the way most people do, you'll back down and back off. Humiliated. Good thing most people are wrong about morality. Here's the conventional bogus wisdom about morality. There are behaviors that are pure good or pure bad. They have names. You don't want to be accused of the behaviors with the bad names. You want to rest assured that only the good ones apply to you. For example, if someone calls you a liar, your confidence is shaken because lying is a name for supposedly always bad behavior. Conventional moral wisdom says when they go low, you have to go high. If so, you'll feel this urge to defend your virtue. They'll just laugh at you for virtue signaling, which is yet another name for another supposedly always bad behavior. You'll be tempted to defend your character. If you do, Herobots will accuse you of getting defensive, a name for another supposedly always bad behavior. You'll be tempted to defend yourself against that accusation too. And if you do, well, that proves you're defensive. That's not how morality actually works. Rather, all humans have a whole range of behaviors that are good or bad depending on the situation. You know that, but you forget that. Lying is sometimes just what the doctor ordered. When we approve of it, we call it tact, politeness, diplomacy, or being civilized. I call such word pairings synantonyms. Lying and tact denote the same behavior but with opposite spin. When we don't like a deception, we call it lying. When we do like a deception, we call it tact. Herobots moralize with what I'll call loaded, load-bearing, loose last words. Words like liar, virtue signaling, and defensive are loaded negatively. Like loaded guns, such words are deployed to shoot people down. Loaded language is load-bearing too. Herobots rest their identities on positively loaded last words. I'm a patriot, a Christian, a macho, conservative rebel. And they try to load challengers down with negatively loaded last words. You're an unchristian PC woke traitor. And these words, they're very loosely defined. Indeed, Herobots don't care what they mean. All they know is they get all the positively loaded ones and you get all the negatively loaded ones. When a Trumpist moralizes at you about whatever, I'm encouraging you to stand grounded on morally shaky ground. Lying is good or bad, depending on the situation. The Trumpist is floating and flitting around in thin air. They don't think or care about what lying means. They just know whatever they do is the best and whatever you do is the worst. Whether you say it to them or not, here's what you've got to feel to stand confidently on your shaky moral ground. Yeah, I lie, like you, like everyone. I'm trying to be tactful. I'm not telling you everything I really honestly think about you right now. You call me a liar as if you never lie, which is a lie because you lie like everyone. I try to figure out when to lie. In other words, when to be tactful. Of course, they'll come back with some more repercussions. For example, you're saying I'm a liar? You're just a name caller. Don't get defensive. Stand grounded and balanced on that same moral shaky ground. Of course I name call, like you, like everyone. You just called me a name caller, which is name calling. I don't just want a name call. I'm trying to name call with surgical precision. I try to figure out who to name call, whereas you're just so frightened that you'll say anything to feel like you're right about everything. Which is the other advantage of this more realistic approach to standing your ground. If you employ the conventional BS wisdom about morality, you'll be tempted to shame a Trumpist with all sorts of rational and moral arguments. That would be you trying to pull them off their high horse so you can mount it. That doesn't work. You can't beat them at their own mindless moralizing game. It's all they have and all they need. Again, they've gone Herobotic. They're one-trick phonies pretending they're heroic no matter what. Trumpists are wielding a magical, invisible sword of self-confidence. It's no good to try to reason with them or get them to see some moral light you righteously swing at them. Do that and pretty soon you'll have a pissing match, like two boys sword fighting over a toilet. Herobots wield an imaginary double-edged sword made up of those synantonyms. They get you coming and going. For example, they'll scold you for not caring about morality and in the same breath laugh at you for caring about morality. They'll scold you for lying and then scold you for not being more tactful. Again, Herobots don't care about anything but maintaining that unearned feeling of absolute confidence. What you've got to do is grab and yank the shank of their imaginary sword. Stay away from their imaginary magical double-edged blade. You're hassling them about one thing only. Trumpists will say anything to avoid human humility. Remember how if they accuse you of being defensive, you'll get defensive, which proves they're right? That's a trap they set without giving any thought to whether you're being defensive or just defending yourself. It's another pair of synantonyms. Getting defensive and defending yourself denote the same behavior but with opposite spin. Defending yourself is supposedly always good. Getting defensive is supposedly always bad. Well, don't fall for that trap, but if they're going to use it on you, it's fair game for you to use it on them to address the one problem with their behavior. You'll say anything to pretend you're always the hero no matter what. Call them Herobots because that's what they are. You know what they'll do in response? They'll deny it. Again, they're one-trick phonies. That's all they've got, which proves your point. When they say, you're the Herobot, you say, there you go again. Thank you for proving my point. You'll say anything to pretend you're always the hero no matter what. Keep doing that. Don't get distracted by their moralizing and rationalizing. Debating them is grabbing their imaginary double-edged sword. It'll cut you coming and going. That's the good news. You don't have to load up on facts and logical moral arguments. They're herobotic, which means they're not listening. They're just spewing loaded, load-bearing, loose last words to pretend they're heroic no matter what. Don't try to persuade them that you're right and they're wrong. Stick with your one observation, your one diagnosis. You'll say anything to pretend you're always the hero no matter what. Don't even try to persuade them that that's what they do. Don't grandstand, groundstand. Stand your ground. That's your honest, careful assessment of what they're doing. If you do that, they'll walk away eventually, muttering words about why they're heroic. But you will have disappointed their herobotic ploy. Disappointing them, or humiliating them, is about all you could ever hope for if you're going to be a resistance fighter against the Trumpists and other Herobots.